Prime Minister faces the opposition with Canada's auto sector in Donald Trump's sights. This is Now You Know.
Going beyond the headlines.
Now You Know with Rob Snow on News Radio.
To his credit, despite all of his worldly travels, including this week's trip to Washington for another meeting with Donald Trump, Prime Minister Mark Carney has been showing up in question period, usually on Wednesdays, for a weekly grilling from the opposition. And this week was no exception, with the Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, instantly on the attack, demanding to know why there's still no trade deal between Canada and the United States. MPs were particularly rambunctious.
Well, we now know why the U.S. president wanted this prime minister in power so badly, a weak leader whose high taxes and anti-development laws are sending billions of dollars and thousands of jobs out of this country. 86,000 jobs lost. And yesterday, the prime minister promised the president that he would increase Canadian investment in the U.S. by $1 trillion if he gets the agreement that he expects to get. Mr. Speaker, in exchange for $1 trillion of job losses in Canada, will he at least get an end to the U.S. auto tariffs that are killing jobs for our workers in Ontario?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we have the best deal in the world with the Americans. First point. Second point, the President of the United States and myself had a meeting of minds yesterday with respect to the future of the steel sector, the aluminum sector, the energy sector in cooperation, which is why our teams are negotiating the terms of those deals. And we are working, as the President himself said in the Oval Office, on the modalities of an auto agreement.
It may be the auto sector that is now the most pressing issue for the Carney government. There are reports that Trump's top person on the trade file, Howard Lutnick, a Wall Street billionaire, told a business audience in Toronto, quote, "Car assembly is only going to be in America, and there is nothing Canada can do about it." Poilievre accused the Prime Minister of selling out Canada's auto workers.
And let me tell him what it means when investment leaves this country, because he was forced a record amount out in his 7 months in power. The 700 workers at the GM plant who lost their jobs in Oshawa, they can tell him about investment that is left. They're sitting around the dinner table wondering how they're going to pay their bills while GM announces $4 billion of new investment south of the border. So while the Prime Minister promises yet another $1 trillion gift to President Trump, why doesn't he look them at those workers in the eye and explain to them why he betrayed them?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, what this government is doing for the auto sector is an unprecedented investment in the Canadian auto sector. We look the Canadian auto workers in the eye. We have $5 billion in the Strategic Response Fund. We have $10 billion for liquidity management. We have worker retraining. We are striking deals with countries around the world. We have the best deal already with the Americans, and it will be even better.
The auto sector is Ontario's most important industry. The province is home to 5 auto companies: Ford, GM, Honda, Stellantis, and Toyota. And Ontario Premier Doug Ford sounded rattled by the comments from Howard Lutnick about the future of Canada's auto sector.
Well, I heard that, and it's very clear. We want to manufacture automobiles here. We buy as many as we sell down there. As I've always said, the auto pack's been around since the 1960s. You can't unscramble an egg, you have to make the omelet larger.
Have you heard that from Secretary Lutnick before, when you guys have had conversations or meetings?
Not as clear as what he said today. So right away, you got to put your guard up and be prepared. I know the auto sectors don't want it. They do not want it. There was a report the other day, they're going to be out $107 billion because of tariff costs.
Does this now represent, in your view, an existential threat to Ontario's auto sector?
I would say it's a massive threat when you have the Secretary of Commerce coming out and saying that, and the President, you'd only say it if the President gave him the green light.
The reported remarks from Howard Lutnick, though, shouldn't come as a complete surprise. President Trump said as much during his Oval Office meeting earlier this week with Prime Minister Carney.
The problem we have is that they want a car company and I want a car company, meaning the U.S. wants a car company. And they want steel and we want steel. So in other countries, they're very far away. And there's no problem. You can compete and you can do. We don't like to compete because we sort of hurt each other when we compete. And so we have a natural conflict. It's a natural business conflict. Nothing wrong with it. And I think we've come a long way over the last few months, actually, in terms of that relationship. So when it comes to trade, the United States was always giving everything. They gave everything to Canada. They would let car companies leave here and go to Canada. But that hurts the United States. And, other presidents didn't see that. They weren't business oriented. They might have been good politicians in some cases, not in all cases. They were bad at both. But it's a very natural conflict, and it's something that we're working out.
In addition to the 5 major auto companies with operations in Ontario, there are about another 700 companies that supply parts and services to the auto sector. All told, the industry employs about 140,000 people. It's the dominant manufacturing industry, not just in Ontario, but in all of Canada. Premier Ford is calling on all Canadians to buy Canadian-made vehicles, and he is asking the federal government and all other provincial governments to buy only Canadian-made vehicles for their fleets.
When we can, let's start buying Ontario and Canadian-made, and the public can play a big role in that. But even with the premiers, buy Ontario-made vehicles for your fleets. I'm not dictating to every single person. It's not realistic to go out and buy everything Canadian auto. I get it. People have their favorite cars, but when you can, please buy Ontario, buy Canadian, and it helps out.
So far, the federal government and the Ontario government have pledged over $6 billion in aid to support the auto sector since Trump imposed tariffs. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
There is no question Rob won't get answered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues
on News Radio.
He's my friend on the right side of things. Michael Taube is back with us, syndicated columnist and speechwriter for former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Great to hear from you today, Michael.
Hey, Rob. How are you doing today?
Very good. Thank you. Well, it's the biggest story in the world, I would argue. U.S. President Donald Trump appears to have brokered the first phase of a peace agreement between Israel and Hamas. How confident are you this could secure a lasting peace?
Look, I think we have to look at it this way. If we assume that realistically this is the end of it and there will be nothing ever again forevermore, I think that's assuming too much. If you can get 6 months to a year out of this or even more, that's an enormous win. It's huge because you can't trust Hamas. It's a bloodthirsty terrorist organization. There is nothing positive about them. They are not trustworthy whatsoever. And regardless of what people may or may not feel about, say, the state of Israel and governments that are in place currently right now with Benjamin Netanyahu and Likud, or even if eventually other ones, more centrist outfits come in, the issue is very simply, who do you trust more? You should always take the side of Israel, as imperfect as it may be, because it's a democracy. It works properly. It works with other Western democracies, and they do the best they can. Hamas is its own organization. They believe that they're going to be martyrs by destroying their enemies, which includes Israel, the United States, and any other countries aligned with them in the West. But to go back to the actual peace deal, it is an enormous accomplishment by U.S. President Donald Trump. There is no other way to look at it. And anybody who tells you, yeah, but if someone comes on your station, has an interview with you, Rob, and says, yeah, but you shouldn't continue on, because this is a major accomplishment. Whether it gets them the Nobel Peace Prize or not, whatever, it's a major accomplishment.
Yeah. Why do you say that? Why do you say that?
I don't think anyone really thought within the last 2 years that much of anything would occur. I don't think people thought there was any headway. I don't think people thought it was possible to bring Hamas to the bargaining table. And I don't think a lot of people thought that no matter what was proposed, which, as we know, the original plan was 21 points, but realistically, nobody thought that every single point would be agreed to. They were just hoping for something. When Hamas blinked or gave way to the fact that they would return the hostages, both living and dead, and that they would agree to have the committee come down, led by Tony Blair, the former UK Prime Minister, who will oversee, what can be done about possibly a Palestinian state or a way for the two sides to somehow survive with one another and agree to survive with one another. That's a major accomplishment. It's huge, and there's no other way to look at it. It's a big, big win for Donald Trump.
Yeah, and hard for, I guess, Hamas to say no when you had so many Arab and Muslim countries supporting the Trump plan: Saudi Arabia, Jordan, UAE, Qatar, Turkey, Indonesia, Pakistan. It's really quite remarkable, really, right? Yeah, it is quite remarkable.
It really is. It's a group effort that I don't think anyone saw coming. And sure, you can make the argument, as some have, that, well, the Arab and Middle Eastern countries have agreed with the U.S. on other things in the past, but this is major because it involves Israel. And also, again, it's much like negotiations and dealings with Iran, which is a tyranny, a totalitarian country. A lot of Arab and Middle Eastern countries are tired of Iran. They don't want to hear from them. They don't want to be included in discussions with them. Well, they don't like Hamas either, because Hamas, quite frankly, doesn't like most of them. That's what makes it impressive.
Okay, so let's look at this through the Canadian lens, because, Prime Minister Carney went to the United Nations and, for the first time ever in Canadian governance, recognized a state of Palestine.
Yeah.
Was that premature, in your opinion? What do you think?
It was absolutely premature. And obviously, we know that other countries, including the United Kingdom, Australia, and France before it did this, it was an overreach, a massive overreach by all of them, which could have been done, and this is the simple part, whether you agree with or disagree with it, it could have been done easily after this sort of an agreement was made. You can still criticize it. You can still say it was the wrong move. You can still say that, well, do we want to support Palestine when many Palestinians, if they didn't necessarily openly support Hamas, were not necessarily calling for their downfall either, you could have had that discussion and argument. But the fact that Carney, if we're just going to use him, jumped the gun way, way too fast and did this, it was a foolish move. And it didn't just frustrate, the Canadian Jewish community. It also frustrated a lot of non-Jews in this country as well, and not just conservatives, who felt that Carney just showed that he was a greenhorn, which he is in politics, and he doesn't know how to sort of rationally work things together, build relationships, and not move on something as controversial as this, that, for God's sake, even his mediocre and ineffective predecessor, Justin Trudeau, didn't do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, isn't that something? Okay, when we come back, something much more lighthearted. Baseball with Michael Taube. I'm Rob Snow. Michael Taube, syndicated columnist, speechwriter for former Prime Minister Stephen Harper, with us every Thursday here on News Radio.
You have questions.
Now you know with Rob Snow has the answers.
On News Radio.
We're back with my friend on the right side of things, Michael Taube, syndicated columnist, speechwriter for former Prime Minister Stephen Harper, and a New York Yankees fan who lives in Toronto.
Not
there must be a story there. I mean, how did that happen that you became a Yankees fan anyway?
No, it's far from unique. That's a mythology that has started up over the decades, and I don't know why. There are many here. Claire Hoy is also a New York Yankees fan living here. There are others, believe me. I don't have to out everybody that I know who is, but there are plenty. Why? Because I grew up with them. At the age of 7, I was fascinated with that team. Not just because of Reggie Jackson, not because of Ron Guidry, but many others. And it's the legend, it's the history, it's the brilliance of that team. And because you live in a particular city, Rob, you don't necessarily root for the home team. That's not how it works. We don't all jump on the bandwagon or do that, Rob.
Okay. So look, I mean, I was a Montreal Expos fan growing up, and then when the Montreal Expos, unfortunately, it moved to Washington, I kind of converted to Jays-ism after that. So, I've been a Jays fan ever since. So I'm happy, I'm happy as a Jays fan. I was wearing my jersey last night. It was a great series. I thought the Jays, I mean, particularly last night, I mean, you throw out 8 relief pitchers and, you hold that team to 2 runs, 4 hits. I mean, it's the most potent offense in Major League Baseball, and, they got the job done. But what do you think the difference was, Jays and Yankees in this series?
Well, one difference based on your words, it was a great series for you. It was not a great series for me. It was agonizing to watch it. I mean, to be blown out 12-1 and 13-7 the first 2 games. And really, the only reason that the second game was quote-unquote closer was because they rallied against, obviously, some of the Jays reserves who were brought in, because they at one point had a 12-0 lead in that one as well. I'm not going to deny and say that the Blue Jays fluked it out. They won this series, and it was quite obvious. It was that the Yankees just badly underperformed. There were only a few bright lights. Interestingly, one of them was Judge. Alex Judge actually went 9 for 15. He hit 600.
Oh, yeah.
This is a guy who's an incredible player, not just because he's a Yankee. He's underperformed in the playoffs, and he did brilliantly there. But the pitching let them down. The hitting let them down. The Yankees themselves, they weren't themselves. They were beaten by, quite frankly, the better team, which was Toronto.
Okay. So, I mean, I know you follow baseball. The Jays are one of what? 2, 6, I don't know. How many teams are left, Mike?
Well,
7?
There's only
7,
one
including the Jays, I guess. 7, including the Jays.
Decided yet.
Yeah. So I've always said this season, I think it's still Milwaukee, to me, is the team to beat. Mm-hmm. I think they look fabulous, the Milwaukee Brewers. But, I mean, where do you think it goes from here? I mean, how do you think things will shake out?
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting. I agree with you that Milwaukee looks like the team to beat in general in baseball. I think the Dodgers will escape Philadelphia, which will be a pretty big, I wouldn't call it as major an upset as people are making it out to me, since they won the World Series last year and they have a fantastic team. But the Dodgers, much like the Yankees, struggled at certain points, especially during the summer, and had to sort of pull up their bootstraps to sort of make it through. I think you're looking probably at the Brewers out of the National League, which is impressive. They haven't been in the World Series since they were in the AL. And on the other side, you could be looking at a potential Mariners-Jays matchup of the 2 expansion teams who came in the league at the same time. That'd be kind of fascinating, too.
That'd be cool. Yeah. All right. Well, take it from a long-suffering sports fan. I'm sure you know this. There's always next season, right? There's always next season.
Yeah, but I'm going to crack my whiskey anyways. But thanks, Rob. I appreciate it.
All right. We'll talk to you next week. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family as well, Michael.
You as well. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family and all the listeners. Take care.
Yeah, bye-bye. Michael Taube, syndicated columnist, speechwriter for former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. This is News Radio.
No question goes unasked or unanswered.
Now you know with Rob Snow returns on News Radio.
Well, it's time for our Thursday Newsday political panel. What a week it's been. Geoff Turner is back with us, Vice President at Bluesky Strategy Group. Hi, Geoff.
Hey, Rob. Good to be here.
Good to have you here. Along with Tom Parkin, longtime political commentator with, quote, a bluntly social democratic perspective. How are you, Tom Parkin? I haven't heard from you in a dog's age.
It's good to hear you. How are you?
Yeah. Well, very good. Thank you.
Good.
Let's begin with you. Let's get caught up here with some current events. The Prime Minister, Tom Parkin, has twice been to Washington in the last 6 months to meet with U.S. President Donald Trump. What does Mark Carney have to show for it?
Well, the unfortunate answer is nothing. He's got nothing to show for it. And I don't think that's anything that anybody in Canada should take any partisan glee from whatsoever. Just last week, we had additional duties put on the auto industry with duties on light trucks of the sort that are made in Oshawa, the Silverados made by GM in Oshawa. We've got more tariffs flying at us from time to time. There's no apparently any stop to this. We have Mr. Lutnick, and hopefully we'll talk about him more, saying, tariffs are just the way it's going to be for Canada. So we're in a very, very difficult spot because of the nature of our intertwined economies, because they are our biggest export partner. And Mr. Trump has a lot of leverage over us. So I think it takes the brains of everybody possible to think about how we adjust to this period and what are we trying to pivot to. We all talk about, we got to trade more with other places. Not a problem. Everybody gets that. But if you're looking at, say, auto or forestry or steel, it's really just not that simple. It's tough because there's a lot of supply chains that are intertwined with the United States.
Okay. What does Mr. Carney have to show for 2 visits to meet the U.S. president, Geoff Turner?
We certainly weren't shown any kind of a deal. I get that. And what we were, I think, shown, and it certainly is, doesn't all make us Canadians feel amazing, which is that there's a rapport between the 2 leaders. And I think that Mr. Carney is using that rapport to stay in the game. I agree with Tom as well on that the U.S. exercises a lot of leverage here. There are things they can still take away from us or make more difficult for us. The free trade agreement is right there. I mean, the fact that we do still have the ability to ship all the products that we were currently shipping under that agreement, except for those special sectors which are under stress. So I'm not saying that's a good situation. We want it to be better.
Okay.
I think if you believe that they're taking the time to get it right, I think what we know about Donald Trump is that he's not the classic leader where everything is figured out by his people and then it's agreed to and then they come and they shake hands and it's all done. Donald Trump is at the front end of his own processes and his own people don't know what his decision is going to be. So you have to work him. And I think that's what's fundamentally different and why the Prime Minister has to do these kind of more friendship building or relationship building exercises rather than coming home with a full hand every time.
Okay, well, I would like to jump in there because in addition to the failure, my word, of a breakthrough on any kind of trade deal, long-term trade deal with the Trump administration is one thing, but a lot of people are talking about the image of the bromance between these two and how it contrasts with the language we heard from the Prime Minister say during the election campaign when he was, in hockey arenas with Mike Myers wearing a Team Canada jersey, talking about how Trump wanted to break us so he could own us. I mean, what do you think about, you have the Prime Minister of Canada praising Donald Trump's leadership, Tom Parkin. How does that make you feel?
Well, it made me feel a little bit sick, to be honest, a little sick to my stomach to watch him ladle on the praise for Donald Trump, who's talking about, he was once again back to his 51st state thing. It's a very, very difficult thing to watch and be a Canadian and think about the future of our country. I personally, while of course you ought to have good relations with people, I personally don't think the personal relationship is what is going to turn the tide for us. Mr. Trump, I think, has, got an idea in his head of what he wants to do to us. And he wants to eviscerate our value-adding sectors. He wants to take our resources. And he wants to make us into kind of a vassal state. Is that just – I don't think that's too extreme for his mind of what he thinks about us. So we really have to think in terms of not just, how much can we kind of praise his ego and will that help, but we really got to think about how do we make ourselves strong so we can resist that and protect our national independence, the independence of our country. And that has a lot to do with rewiring our industries. And that is not something you do overnight. It takes a lot of work and takes a lot of commitment from businesses as well.
I mean, it's been described this week, Geoff, the relationship that these two appear to have it's been described as a bromance. What do you think of that, Geoff?
Well, we can say bromance. I don't know what the young kids say, but certainly the older kids would say that it's anyway. The relationship is important with Donald Trump just because he is the one who's calling all his shots. I don't think the Prime Minister is there doing that because he genuinely enjoys it. I think you can see that written on his face. And it is a strategy, like it or hate it, that every other major world leader, including all of our allies, are taking as well. And I agree with Tom. It is unsettling and it is disappointing. And as a Canadian, I want to get up there and punch him in the nose and have a big nosebleed. But I think let me build on what Tom was saying really quickly, if I can. There's two things that are possible here, right? Reach some kind of an agreement, and there's some kind of normalization in trade. Whether or not that involves tariffs, I think it's bigger than us, right? But we have to find our way. And if you need to be patient to get that strategy and do a little bit of fawning, that's what you do. And work on it. Let me pick up on where Tom was at, though, the more apocalyptic thing, which isn't out of the realm of the possible, as we watch some really crazy stuff happening in the States at the direction of Donald Trump and his people. At what point does it become unpalatable to work with the Americans if this continues on in the way that it's going? And you know, is trade going to become your most important thing if this devolves even further in the U.S.? Are
you talking about things like sending troops into Portland and other
American troops in the streets, like commando raids on apartment buildings full of U.S. citizens and children being zip-tied by masked agents, all to find 30 people in a group of 300. But all this to say is like that if that's the scenario we're trying to avoid, we have to at least buy time with the first one until it becomes more clear that we can't do anything or things take over from us that are out of our control.
Okay, Tom mentioned Howard Lutnick's remarks to this business audience in Toronto. I want to pick up on that when we come back. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
Critical thinking is not dead.
Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Returns on News Radio.
With our Thursday Newsday political panelist, Geoff Turner from Bluesky Strategy Group and longtime political commentator Tom Parkin. Trump's main person on the trade file, Howard Lutnick, is reported to have told a Toronto business audience, quote, car assembly is only going to be in America, and there is nothing Canada can do about it. The question is, what is Canada going to do instead? He is also reported to have said, quote, if you look at where Canada was to where it will be, you'll be disappointed. Geoff, how do you interpret those remarks?
Geez, you think his ambassador would be half as popular if he was using stronger language as that? Listen, that tells you where their head is at, and I think it's obviously a throwing the gloves down kind of statement, but it also lives in that world of bluster that the MAGA and the sort of Trump presidency is so full of. You know, the people in the sector, sure, if that's your vision many years down the road, that's possible, but the reality is in order to stand up that kind of infrastructure takes decades. That's why it's so integrated the way it is now. And you know, it's back to our conversation just a minute ago. Is this a temporary storm or is this the beginning of a whole new era where the U.S. is actually achieving those goals as opposed to just stating them and then making it really uncomfortable until they start getting their way? I don't know.
Okay. Tom, what do you think of those remarks? How do you interpret those remarks?
Well, Lutnick has said crazy things before that didn't come true, so we can hope for that. But you know, as they say in the auto industry, hope not a strategy. You know, Ontario, I think there are 8 major assembly plants, and 2 of them have not had a car run off the line in more than 2 years. In Brampton, Chrysler, formerly Chrysler Fiat, now Stellantis, no cars since 2023 have been off that plant, and in Oakville, there is a plan to put some production in there, but again, no cars off that line in more than 2 years now.
In Oakville, they're not making any vehicles in Oakville at Ford?
No. They were making Lincolns. Yeah, they were making Lincolns, and then they were going to switch to an EV platform, and then that went for the big dump.
Right. Okay.
And so now there has not yet been an announcement of what product it will be. And meanwhile, we got the Silverado plant in the GM Silverado in Oshawa under attack. The stable ones are, you know, the Japanese producers. The plant in Alliston, which we got a plant in Alliston, a plant in Cambridge that produce Honda and
Toyota.
And Toyota products. So that is stable. And I did notice, and I take some encouragement from our federal minister is going to go to Japan and talk to those folks about the stability of those plants. But here's the situation Ontario manufacturing is in. It's historic industry. The shipment of assembled vehicles is now allegedly tariff-free. But the shipment of parts is not. So if I am in Windsor and I ship parts across to Detroit, that's taxed at the border. If I assemble in Windsor and ship a whole car over. That is apparently not. But the thing is, the value of the parts inside that were made in Canada have become tariffed. So this idea that they're only tariffing NAFTA or CUSMA compliant products in the auto industry is not true. So we're really in a situation. Yeah.
Let's from 50,000 feet up, and again, taking these remarks from Mr. Lutnick. Are we, I guess, as Canadians, just going to have to wrap our heads around the idea that there will always be tariffs? What do you think, Geoff? That it's just never going back to the tariff-free environment that Canada enjoyed, and you just have to get used to tariffs. What do you think?
I'll take a bit of an analytical approach. You have to plan for it either way, and it's especially important to plan for it when you're living in it. Currently, although what I want to say is I would hope that there's still a bit of optimism that as rough as this storm is, there is a path for both the political and the sort of social trajectory of the United States right now to pull into a different direction, one that just eases it down, and maybe that there is a world where Trumpism and this presidency slowly lose steam, as they may and as they seem to be, and other bad things will happen where they start to lose that cachet and eventually are replaced. And then do we go back to zero? I don't know, but I think presuming the Trump policy continues in perpetuity is definitely not clear right now. So you got to plan for it, but you got to also hope that you can steer it back in the other direction.
Can I get a quick comment from you on that, Tom?
Yeah, I think.
Are we always going to have tariffs?
We don't know. Maybe Trump won't be around. Maybe something will change. But I think that's right. We got to plan as if, and we got to make our industry super competitive. And that may mean helping them with capital investments so that they are more productive. And they're just so productive that, they just cannot be replaced in the supply chains that are intertwined in North America. We also should think about the forestry industry. I think it deserves a mention. A big employer across this country. Builds a lot of U.S. homes with our wood. That is being choked off, as is steel. So, we really have a challenge on our hands, and the Prime Minister and the Premiers have to get their act together and be all on the same wavelength about how we are going to address this.
Okay.
We've got a lot in front of us.
When we get back, I want to talk a little bit about Pierre Poilievre's comments on social media recently about the Freedom Convoy organizers. All the more interesting because of a news report today that says influencers, online influencers had the loudest voices online during the most recent federal election, and how that it might be changing our politics. When we come back, this is News Radio.
Now you know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
Talking politics today with Geoff Turner and Tom Parkin. Not a lot of time, so short answers. But Tom, what do you think about Pierre Poilievre saying of the recently conditionally sentenced Freedom Convoy organizers, quote, Tamara Litch and Chris Barber peacefully protested the imposition of emergency measures that the federal court found to be unlawful and unconstitutional. I wish Chris and Tamara a peaceful and happy life. What did you think about that?
Well, I guess he's playing to his base. I don't agree with a lot of it. It wasn't peaceful. If you lived there, it was very, very difficult to sleep or try and walk to work or not be harassed. But I take a little bit of strange comfort in the very final words there, Rob. Hope they have a peaceful future in life, or however he ends it.
Peaceful and happy life.
Like a bit of a, see you later, boys. Hope I don't see you again.
Okay, all right, that's interesting. Geoff, quick comment there.
I agree with Tom just about it not being a peaceful experience for those of us in Ottawa in both appearance and in practicality. However, I'd also just say it's a very different tweet than the last time he was talking about this and many members of his caucus, where they were saying that the Prime Minister was directly instructing the Crown attorneys on some egregious sentence and everything was just terrible. And here it is, the justice system worked. They were given conditional sentences. They were found guilty of their crimes. And now we can all move on. And to Mr. Poilievre's point, we hope that they live a peaceful life from here on out.
Okay, a very quick comment on this. This is a very interesting report from the Canadian Digital Media Research Networks. Influencers had the loudest, quote unquote, loudest voices online during this spring's federal election, accounting for more than almost half, 47% of the political content in the researchers' data set. News outlets like this one, 28%, politicians about 18%. One of the reasons it cites the rise of the influencer is because of the ban by Meta or Facebook of Canadian news, which was made in response to Canadian policy, that this created an information gap that has a void that has been filled by these influencers. What do you think about that, Tom? What, maybe it was a mistake?
I think there is some truth to that. When you create a void, it gets filled by something, and usually it's not good. If what you've done is voided, professional reporters who went to journalism school and have a code of ethics that they try and live by day. So if you fill that with citizen journalists, you don't know what you get. But Rob, I have a Twitter account or an X account that is just for my business. It has one follower. I follow my personal account, and every once in a while I look at what are the tweets that are getting recommended to me by Elon Musk's X. And the lineup is so telling. Tommy Robinson, Elon Musk. It's just a litany of people that I've never shown any interest in.
That's interesting. I want to get. We only have about 45 seconds, so I want to get a quick comment from Geoff on that. This is because of the Online News Act that Meta did this. Maybe it was a mistake. What do you think, Geoff?
I don't think it's all about that. I think that definitely had that immediate effect. But I would say in social media in general, you're seeing everything go to influencers because there's just too much information. We used to think the internet would be able to furnish us all with every news article and academic journal we'd ever want to find. And what we're finding now is there's so much information, people are turning to a trusted voice or a voice that they find attractive or interesting or funny or whatever. And that is how they're getting their information. That's a long-term trend, and it's something that we're totally grappling with in the context of what we'll call like journalism news, as well as just the use of social media and how people are living through the social age that we're in.
It's time to talk back
on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to Talkback. It's 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. Today, we're going to do a free-for-all. That means you pick a topic. You call me, 1-833-668-2577. You tell me what's on your mind. I will give you a fair hearing. It doesn't matter what the issue is. It's a free-for-all. Open line, open topic. We usually do that on Fridays, tomorrow. But I'm off tomorrow. This show will not be on tomorrow. And I'm also off on Monday for the Thanksgiving long weekend. I'm kind of taking an extra long weekend. So, since we won't have a chance to talk about the news and current events of the day until Tuesday of next week, and I mean, since there's so much that's been going on in the news, we thought we'd just keep it wide open today. Okay, you take the lead. You start the conversation. I have a number of topics that I wouldn't mind throwing out there, but consider them to just be conversation starters and nothing more. If there is really something that you want to raise, we would prefer that. Serious, not so serious. Please give us a call. 1-833-668-2577, and we'll just see where the conversation takes us over the next couple of hours. It can always be an adventure. Again, 1-833-668-2577. If you've never called before, just mention that to us. We'll make your call a priority. We love to hear from first-time callers, especially as we close out a very busy week. The biggest story in the world today is this breakthrough on ending the war between Israel and Hamas. They have signed an agreement. There's going to be a ceasefire. Hamas will free the hostages it kidnapped during the attack on Israel October 7th of 2 years ago, and Israel will free Palestinian prisoners that it's been holding in Israeli prisons, and Israel will partially withdraw from Gaza. So the ceasefire is supposed to come into effect sometime in the next 24 hours, and the hostages are supposed to be released within 72 hours. Notice I keep saying supposed to be. But this is all in keeping with the peace plan that was announced by Donald Trump. This conflict, of course, the latest and just one of several in the region. It's been going on for 2 years. It has been a terrible humanitarian catastrophe, but it may soon be coming to an end. What do you think of these developments? What do you think of these developments? And do you think this could finally lead to a lasting peace in that very troubled part of the world? And how much credit do you give Donald Trump for being able to, it seems, negotiate an end to this, if indeed that's what happens? We took a lot of calls this week when we were asking you, what's your opinion of Donald Trump? And certainly Donald Trump has supporters in Canada, but we heard loud and clear just a couple of days ago on this show, there are a great many Canadians who don't think very highly of Donald Trump at all, but he has somehow managed to broker an end to this, it would seem, after 2 bloody, awful years of war. Do you give Donald Trump any credit for this major development in world affairs? And do you think it will last? Could we actually be on the verge of a lasting peace in the Middle East? Wouldn't that be welcome? 1-833-668-2577. That's one topic that we could throw out there just as a conversation starter. But let's get right to a phone call. Remember, we're doing a free-for-all today. Open line, open topic on Talkback. Bob is in Airdrie, Alberta. Hello, Bob.
Hi there.
Hi, Bob.
Hi there.
What's on your mind?
I have 2 things that I want to talk about. The first thing is unconditional. It's absolutely the most important thing for Canada. Let's go Blue Jays.
Oh, yeah, I'm totally with you there. Yeah, I'm 100% with you on that. Thank you. Yes, very good. Very good.
Yeah,
that was exciting last night. It sure was. Yeah.
Oh, that was the absolute best. It was nice that they were using all their relievers, and they showed the world, as well as everybody in the United States, that the Blue Jays are a very serious team.
Oh, yes, sir. Very good. Yeah. Yeah, they're playing great.
The second thing that's the more important thing that I wanted to talk about was what is wrong with the rest of Canada that they will not allow Albertans to pipe the oil out of Alberta to benefit all of Canada with all of the money that we will be giving to the rest of Canada. I do not understand this.
Well, I think the immediate obstacle right now is the left-wing NDP premier in British Columbia. I mean, that's your major obstacle right now to that.
Well, that's the most current one, but let's not forget that we tried to put a pipeline through Eastern Canada, and they shut that one down as well. And we've tried to put it through Hudson's Bay, and they've shut that one down. We tried to put a Keystone through. Well, that was shut down by the U.S., but also not supported by the Canadian Prime Minister at the time. And so we've been trying to pump oil out of Alberta, which we have 500 years worth of oil here. And we just will benefit all of Canada with the revenue that we would produce out of this, especially when we could pump it anywhere in the world if we go east or west. And yes, going south, we have one customer.
You'll get no disagreement from me, sir, on the pipeline file. I've said this before. We have a prime minister who is traveling all over the world. He says he's seeking out new trade partners for Canada. We have to be less reliant on the United States. Oil is the number one most valuable commodity export that we have in Canada, and it's not even close, and we're sending 93% of it to one place. And Keystone XL does not solve that. To me, Pipeline West, Pipeline East. I mean, this is just the poster child. I've said this before. It's the poster child for trade diversification in this country. And what it is going to take is serious national leadership, because pipeline construction, because it crosses interprovincial borders, is exclusively in the federal domain. Thank you for your call. You've got us off to a good start on a Thursday Talkback. You can join the discussion on any topic that's on your mind. We'd love to hear from you today. I'm Rob Snow. 1-833-668-2577 is our call-in line on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
We're wide open today on topics. We have some topics, but we'd rather you took the lead on them because it's a free-for-all. I'm taking a 4-day-long weekend. So we won't get to speak until Tuesday of next week. Let's just stick around what's been happening in the news today. Get your thoughts on some of the big news stories. To Scott, also in Alberta today. Hi, Scott.
Hey, Rob, how's it going?
Very good, Scott. Yeah, could be a little warmer. That's about it, but no complaints, generally speaking. What's on your mind, Scott?
If I talk to your listeners directly for just a minute.
Yeah.
If signaling coming in and coming out, that would make my life a whole lot easier. Also, if you're coming into a traffic or four-way intersection, you've got a green light, you're going to turn left. It's okay.
Okay, Scott, you're in an area with bad cell coverage, so I'm going to have to let you go. We're only hearing like every third or fifth word you say. So get a couple of new bars on your cell phone there. Give us a call back. I'll put you right back on the air. No problem at all. And won't make you wait too long. Don't worry about that. 1-833-668-2577. It's Talkback here on News Radio. Let's go to Steve, St. Margaret's Bay. Hello, Steve.
Hey, Rob. How are you?
Very good, Steve. Where's St. Margaret's Bay? Where is that?
We're basically the bay where you have Peggy's Cove.
Oh, Peggy's Cove. Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah.
So in that area. Anyway, I wanted to call in. I'm new to this whole process, but I've been really enjoying listening to folks and what they've got to say. So one of the things that I wanted to kind of discuss is the government's buyback program for firearms.
Sure thing.
And I'm just absolutely blown away by how ludicrous this program is and how it punishes people who own firearms legally. And I just find it kind of bizarre that we're, wasting approximately 10% of the projected federal budget, or not the federal budget, the federal deficit on a program that doesn't really need to exist. It's simply for political gain and nothing else. And I really do not understand why it continues to proceed.
Well, I think we understand completely why it continues to proceed, because Gary Anandasangri, who's the Minister of Public Safety, was caught on tape telling one of his tenants why it's proceeding. He basically admitted that people who own firearms legally in Canada are not the problem. He knows that. He knows that he's been stuck with a dog's breakfast of a program, and he admitted to his tenant that the only reason the government is doing it is because it's popular in Quebec. It's no secret why they're doing it, sir. It's for votes in Quebec. The Carney government owes its minority government because it gained 10 seats in Quebec. That's why they're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Carney certainly had an opportunity to kind of start fresh, and I think we're just being fed what we've had for the past 10 years. And I really think that's unfortunate, to be quite honest.
I'm originally from Cape Breton. I don't know if you knew that or not. I'm originally from Cape Breton Island, born and raised. And what I can't understand, you have the OPP says we don't want to take part. Toronto Police Association, Toronto Police, like massive police force, multi-billion-dollar budget, says it's not going to do anything. Alberta is not going to comply. Same thing with Saskatchewan. You have police services all across the country who say, we're not involved. We don't want anything to do with this. $750 million. Put that into actually fighting real crime. And yet they've somehow managed to abscond this police chief on Cape Breton Island to run this pilot program. Do you have any idea what the buzz is there? What are you hearing about that? Anything?
The only thing that I heard, and I'm not certain if it's correct or not, was that the police chief was a relation of a liberal folk in that part of the woods. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I heard he was the brother-in-law of one of the Liberal MPs down there. He's the brother-in-law.
Yeah,
one of the Liberal MPs.
Which wouldn't surprise me. I mean, look at Brenda Lucky when she was ahead of the RCMP. You know, she was related or through marriage to Bill Morneau. So in any case, we've got this boondoggle going on with the buyback program. We're spending money when it's not a good time to be frivolously spending money. And I just find it ludicrous that, you know, it continues to plod along, and people who tend to vote for Carney will continue to support that. It makes zero sense to me.
Yeah.
At all.
And it's not a small sum of money. I mean, $742 million. $742 million. How much long-term care could you get in your part of the country with $742 million? Or how many doctors could you hire? How many nurses could you hire? How many pensioners could you help? How many veterans could you help for $742 million? It's crazy.
Yeah, well,
it's
and
crazy.
I mean, in my particular circumstance, I purchased a firearm a couple of years ago, which was banned just before Trudeau left. And, you know, something, I grew up with firearms. My dad was a hunter. My mother was a champion skeet shooter. So I've grown up with firearms. I was in the forces for 30 years. I know how to handle firearms, know how to protect them. And it just seems ridiculous that this whole policy is in place. Waste of time. Anyway,
Thank you.
That's what I
Thank
have
you.
to say.
Pretty good for a first timer, I would say. You call back anytime. Thank you. 1-833-668-2577 and have your say. We're open line, open topic today on Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Yeah, it's a free-for-all today. It's open line, open topic. You can take the lead. Sean in Cambridge, Ontario. Hello, Sean.
Hi, good afternoon. I was thinking about this whole Canada Post situation. You know,
yes,
they're saying our post office is going broke. Well, you know what? The UK has a post office. The US has a post office. Germany has Deutsche Post. I mean, are we the only country that can't manage to run a profitable postal corporation? Are we just incompetent? Like, what's the deal? Why can't we run a post office that makes money? Is Canada unique in our incompetence?
Well, what do you do if business drops 70%? I mean, if business drops where I work, if business drops 70%, you do a restructuring.
Yeah, but why is it dropping? Is it because our
when was the last time you wrote a letter to your mother, Sean? And went to the post office and licked a stamp and put a stamp on an envelope and sent it to somebody?
Why would I do that? My mailbox.
Why would you do that? Exactly. Right?
No,
why would you do that?
You're not listening. My mailbox is full of stuff every single day from businesses. It's full every day, just about, except for when there's a mail strike. I mean, if they can't make it go on business mail, why not?
Okay. Letter volume, which was the cash cow for Canada Post, has dropped 70%. Canada Post used to.
How are other countries doing it? In the U.S.,
well, I can't speak. I can't speak to what they're doing in other countries. But I can tell you that the company is losing $10 million a day. Do you need 60,000 employees at Canada Post?
Not really. But the thing is, why are we so incompetent? Like, why did it balloon so badly?
Well,
it shouldn't be broke.
Well, it shouldn't be broke, but there was a transformation that was underway, started 10 years ago by a conservative government at that time. And for political reasons and political reasons only, because it was very popular in affluent neighborhoods where they still get home delivery of the mail, where they vote liberal, the Trudeau government put a stop to it and said, you will get, as long as if you get home delivery of the mail now, you will never lose your home delivery of the mail.
You know, they also get a lot of home delivery. You know, there's a lot of American people get home delivery too, you know. And in the UK, they get home delivery. But we can't,
you can't compare. You can't compare the mail service in the UK to a mail delivery service in Canada, sir. Think of how big and vast Canada is. And the mandate of Canada Post is that it is supposed to deliver mail to every address in Canada. That's the mandate.
I live in Southern Ontario, not the prairies. If they can't manage it here, where can they manage it?
Okay, I don't understand your point there. Do you think
the point is?
Do you think if business falls 70%, nobody should be let go? There should be no restructuring whatsoever?
Oh, there needs to be restructuring. That's the problem. They're not doing their job. They're incompetent. And it's not a one-size-fits-all. That's the other problem. You can't say the same thing that works in Ontario is going to work in Saskatchewan.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Yeah, so we're wide open today. We're doing a free-for-all today. We would usually do that tomorrow, but there's no Now You Know with Rob Snow tomorrow or on Monday. We're taking an extra long Thanksgiving weekend, so we're doing a free-for-all today. Would love to hear from you. Kevin is up next. Kevin's in Airdrie, I believe. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Rob. Yes, I am in Airdrie. I appreciate you taking my call. Love the show. Number one, I've got two things that I want to smack out quick.
Sure.
Starting with, and this is something that I've not really heard talked about on the show before, but it's a very unique circumstance. So emancipation, that's a topic that is very unique, very rare to certain individuals, but is common. Now, my story was going through all of that. I had to fight tooth and nail to get my emancipation at 15, and it was just a bloodbath. So I was unable to sign legal documents, rental agreements, and had to find a place on my own. So just kind of wanted to see your thought and process on what people are doing towards emancipation, what your thought process is on our current system towards that.
You know what, sir? I have to plead ignorance because I know nothing about it.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, you've been through it. You've been through it. So what was that process like? What you said it was a bloodbath. What do you mean? Like what?
So
I don't want to get down. I don't want personal details. I don't want personal details, family details kind of stuff. I just want to, okay, you sought to be emancipated from your parents, I'm assuming. So, walk us through what that process is like. I know nothing about it.
So it would be easy if, your guardians end up signing off for you, and then it'll go to the court of law, and a judge will approve it, and then you're emancipated, right?
Mm-hmm.
The biggest issue is if your parents don't, but in the circumstance of, let's say, your parents pass away or, whatever happens, and you're no longer able to function on your own, you cannot get emancipated, even if that is the right path towards that. And so I worked with social teams and so on and so forth, and it took quite a while. And then at 16, I was finally able to do it. But if that's not something that you are quite familiar with, let's jump to a topic that you are and talk about the ceasefire that is happening.
Yeah.
And I want to say kudos to Trump.
Okay.
I am a Trump supporter. However, under the aspect of this is something that nobody thought could be done, especially in the time frame that we're given. And this was executed and completed. And as you were talking about earlier, this is a circumstance where even if we get peace for a short time, this is still an achievement.
Oh, I would agree with you. I think that the key is to have the support in the process of all the Muslim and Arab countries that are on board with this, 8 of them. with the exception of Iran, which is a Persian. But I mean, it's remarkable. It really is. Now, will it last? Will Hamas follow a ceasefire? Will Hamas really release the hostages that it's still holding? Will Israel abide by the terms and really, at least partially withdraw from Gaza? What happens after that? I mean, it's all, they've signed an agreement, but we all have to see how all of this unfolds. Right?
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, it is the step in the right direction to at least bring peace and the loss of life down, right? So.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
no,
because it's been a catastrophe. It's been terrible what's happened in that part of the country over the last 2 years. Okay, thank you. I wish I could offer you an opinion on the emancipation issue, but again, I know nothing about it. But I thank you for your call, Kevin, today in Airdrie. In Calgary, Carol is up next. Hi, Carol.
Hi,
Carol. What's on your mind today?
For the Postal Service, the analogy that I read is it's like the payphone. If they don't modernize, then they might become obsolete, just like the payphone. Other countries are privatizing their Postal Service. The UK, Germany, Portugal, Japan, the Netherlands, they're fully or partially privatizing. So maybe that's an option for Canada, is to partially or fully privatize the Postal Service.
Well, maybe partially. I could understand partially. I mean, nobody wants to buy a business that's losing $10 million a day, right? Nobody's going to do that. There might be profitable areas of the country where private companies would want to, jump in and take over delivery of the mail, like in a big city like Calgary. But what about in remote northern communities, fly-in communities where Canada Post has to deliver, so stuff like that.
Yeah, but when your previous caller said, how are other countries doing it? Some of them are partially or fully privatizing.
Some of them
like the UK.
Okay, very good point.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Okay, and the second thing is transfer payments from Alberta to other provinces in Canada are $3 billion paid each year by Alberta taxpayers to other provinces in Canada. So if other provinces like BC and Quebec and others don't feel that Alberta should be able to get its natural resources to the ports, to the coast, maybe it's time to reassess the equalization, the transfer payments. Some people might not be aware of how much Alberta's transferring, or they might forget, or they might just assume that it's always going to be there.
Okay, well, again, the basic structure of equalization is relatively straightforward. It's on a per capita basis. Equalization assesses a province's ability to generate its own source revenues, and it then compares that fiscal capacity to the average fiscal capacity of all the provinces. It's a federal government program based on fiscal capacity, based on a formula that probably 3 people in the country understand. I don't claim to understand it. I don't understand why, for example, Quebec year after year after year is getting, billions and billions of dollars in equalization from the federal government, whereas year after year after year, a province like yours, Alberta, or a tiny little province like Newfoundland and Labrador, which happens to be rich in oil as well, also gets nothing. It doesn't make any sense to me. I can't make any sense of it.
Yeah, because you look at university tuition, for example, in Alberta and other provinces compared to Quebec, and Quebec is so much lower. So.
Sure. I live in Quebec, so, the lowest tuition for Quebec residents, the lowest tuition, the lowest childcare costs, the lowest electricity costs. Right. And for years, the Quebec government was cutting taxes, not raising them. So, it's quite something, isn't it? It really is. Thank you for your call, Carol. Glad we could fit you in. Be right back with more of your calls on a free-for-all talkback today on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
To Didsbury, Alberta. Walter, are you with me, Walter?
Hello. Yeah, I'm here. How are you doing?
Very good, Walter. What's on your mind?
Okay. Well, a couple of things, right? One is that I agree with you on the post office, right? If you look back before the computers, they had they were fully dealing with letters that were being mailed and stamps and all that stuff, right? Since the computer come along, it's done the same thing that it's done to the newspaper industry. It's put the newspaper industry in trouble. And so, yeah, but if you take a look at like Amazon, and if you take a look at Ops, some of these other people that are delivering mail, they're not seeming to have as much problem as the Canadian Post. So maybe it's time to really get in there and restructure, starting at the top of the top and moving our way down through it, right?
Well, yes, and
anyway,
even people who have worked for Canada Post have called me, Walter, and they have said, what should it really all be on, say, the rank and file frontline employees? There's a lot of upper management at Canada Post. It can be a top heavy and inefficient organization at the management executive level as well, right?
Exactly right. But the other thing too is back, I don't know exactly, say 30 years ago, they had X amount of people working for the post office delivering mail, right? And I don't know that exact number. People could look it up, I guess. But if you look at the number of people working for the post office today, it's like way, way more, maybe 50% more people working with 70% of the business gone. So it's a disaster, right? So, but I didn't want to talk about that. I wanted to talk about something else. And what I wanted to talk about is very simple, that if we do not resist Trump, and the damage has already been done, it's going to take 20, 30 years to get through what Trump is doing to Canada. Carney hasn't done anything. Carney, I've seen some of his business ideas, but even his business ideas aren't working out. And I wanted to say this one thing, right? Because when the world looks at us, I mean, Europe and South America and Australia, and people looking at us, and they want to do business with us, but they see that the money that's being sent into Canada is going straight to the United States. Carney's not stopping Trump. He's enabling Trump. And he thinks that he can do this by talking, by appeasing, by pleasing the bully, right? By the aggressor. And the only thing, and if you look in history, if you use history as a judgment, right, you'll see that history says you can't appease an aggressor. You must resist. Now, the scary thing about that is...
But let me just jump in there, Walter. We're talking about the most powerful economy in the world is 10 times our size. So what does resistance look like, in your opinion? What should the Prime Minister be doing that he's not doing?
See, this is the point that I'm trying to make, right? In Canada, we have approximately 40 million people. In the United States, they have approximately 400 million.
Yeah.
The problem is if we try to resort to violence, and that's the one thing that we should not be looking at. We should be trying to turn around and tell the world we're peacemakers. We're about peace. We don't want to hurt any Americans. We don't want to hurt anybody in the world. But we don't give in to injustices. We don't turn around and lay down and take it. We need to resist. And history shows that there are both the ones that stood up and resisted the aggressor with violence, and then there's the ones that stand up and resist through nonviolence, like Mahatma Gandhi in India, when England wanted to take its sovereignty and its natural
But again,
resources.
I don't know what that looks like. Walter, well, look, we'll have to move along. I understand your point, sir. You want a more forceful resistance from the Carney government. You don't feel you're getting it. It's a common point of view, especially after this week. Let's go to Sean, though, up next on Talkback. Hi, Sean.
Hi, Rob. How are you? Happy Thanksgiving.
Very good, Sean. Happy Thanksgiving to you, too, sir. Very kind of you. What's on your mind?
I'm a second-time caller. The first time I called was back in July, and the suggestion that Canada Post, to start making money, had to start switching everything to super boxes and allowing the delivery of flyers and such to skyrocket. And lo and behold, they have. Great. Back in 2013, computers already existed. So did all email, et cetera, et cetera. Canada Post made $130 million up until 2017. In 2017, Canada Post was in the black for $30 million. In 2018, Canada Post decided that we're going to switch our entire fleet to electric vehicles. And they started losing money. And 7 years later, they're still
I don't
losing
know,
lots
but
of money.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many of those electric vehicles are actually on the road, though. I don't see a lot of Canada Post electric vehicles. Oh, really?
The ones
Okay.
I see come by my place are electric, but I see the occasional gas one. But I'm wondering what kind of relation that is to we've lost tons of money. It's the parcel business needs to go up. And like lots of callers have said, they need to restructure. 60,000 employees are really necessary to get everybody.
I mean, what we've been told by people who have followed this industry for a very long time is that, yes, the parcel side of the business, once the letter mail collapsed, the Canada Post was doing very well on the parcel side of the business. But even that aspect of its business is way down there because of all the private contractors and the so-called, gig delivery apps and whatnot, that it's not the moneymaker that it used to be for Canada Post on the parcel side.
No, exactly. I mean, when you order something, I try to avoid the big machines of Amazon, et cetera, but as one of my friends pointed out, when you order something from Amazon, you're taking money away from Canada Post. But when you order something from Amazon, it's usually something you can't find anywhere. I tried to buy a rotisserie motor, Home Depot, Barbecues Galore, Canada Post. Everybody that I could order one from, no. And who has it? Amazon. It's the same one I had for $23.
Yeah, and you can track it and see where it is and when it's going to arrive. And if you don't like it, they'll take it back. All of this stuff. There's a convenience aspect to it as well. Be right back with more of your calls. Hour number 1 of Talkback. It's a free-for-all today. We'll go wherever you lead us. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
It's a free-for-all today to Calgary again. Matt is up next. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Rob. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you just fine, Matt. What's on your mind?
Oh, okay. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I thought I'd take a chance to talk a little bit about the artificial intelligence.
Sure.
I know you talked about it a couple times.
Yeah.
So, not really like the science fiction version, and I probably will end up sounding like I'm an alarmist or something, but like the real one, like real artificial intelligence that's taking shape right now. Basically, there's like two kinds of versions. Maybe some of your listeners know this. There's like narrow AI. This narrow artificial intelligence, this is like what we have today, right? It's very specialized. It's like, this is like when you turn on the TV, it translates your languages. I have a small business. I can use it to edit my videos. ChatGPT is very narrow.
Okay. So I use ChatGPT. I use Gemini. I use Copilot the most, actually. I use Microsoft Copilot the most. So would that be narrow AI? Is that what you call narrow AI?
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. This is narrow AI, and it's super, super helpful, and I'm all for it, right? Because it's limited to a single task. But I have to tell you, there is, I think it was with SoftBank, OpenAI, and the U.S. government, they've put in $500 billion to make something called AGI. This is artificial general intelligence. The general means is that this type of AI, it can reason, it can learn, it can plan across any kind of domain whatsoever. It doesn't just like follow instructions. It actually could create its own goals. And that's where, like a lot of the world's top scientists, they're really concerned about this thing. So this is kind of like
this could be like a genie out of the bottle kind of moment, right? Like they don't know
exactly.
They're unleashing Frankenstein's monster almost kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah, and it's a real thing. So down in Texas, they have I think it's Texas, they have the Project Stargate, right? $500 billion. This is a data center. If you look at the maps now, you can see it live. It's the size of Manhattan, right? And this is the Japanese government and the U.S. government putting it together. And so here's the thing, right? When you create something that's more... When we create something that's more intelligent than us, it's absolutely unpredictable and uncontrollable. So think about it this way. If you're sitting across the table from the world's best chess player, you only know that they're going to beat you. You can't predict their next move because if you could, you'd be as smart as them. So anything that's smarter than us is inherently unpredictable.
Okay. I'll have to wrap it up there. That's fascinating. Thank you for the warning.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
So again, it's a Thursday free-for-all today. We're away tomorrow, so no Friday free-for-all tomorrow. We'll do it today. It's like a faux Friday around here. 1-833-668-2577. Have your say on Talkback. And a reminder, we welcome first-time callers. We will make your call a priority. We'd love to hear from you. We can talk about Trump in the Middle East. We can talk about Carney's visit to see Donald Trump. I know in Alberta, I mean, you're, almost a week into the teacher strike now, 4 days into the epic teacher strike. We can talk about the Toronto Blue Jays, whatever happens to be on your mind, pipeline politics. I mean, it was a busy week in news. Let's go to Emerson is in Calgary today. Hi, Emerson.
Hi, Rob. I want to start off, first of all, wishing you and your wife a beautiful Thanksgiving, and you deserve it, I might add.
Well,
Rob,
the same to you and your family, Emerson. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those kind words. I just wanted to ask you, last year the Jays finished dead last in their division. What would the odds would have been in Vegas for the Jays to make it all the way to the World Series the following year? Like, if I had gone down to Vegas and put $100 on them, what kind of odds do you think I would have got back then?
Probably pretty good odds, I'd suspect. Especially with all the rumors, are they going to sign Vladimir Guerrero? What's going on with Bo Bichette? All of this stuff that was, all over the news earlier in the baseball season, right?
Right. And the other thing I wanted to ask is, number one, I'm extremely excited for them. I think they have a lot of potential. I think they'll scare a lot of people no matter who they meet. But here's the thing. They're a younger group of guys that just love being together. You can actually see that in their dugout when they're all together. They're huddling. Last night I actually observed where one guy had his arm right around another player, and they were really – it just showed passion, love amongst each other. But one thing I wanted to say was I think it was a healthy thing for them to actually lose that one game in the Bronx, because I think they needed to come down to earth. Like, they were up 6-1. I think they kind of thought, this is easy. We're never going to lose. I think it was good that they actually did lose and realize that they got to keep it together. Just because they're up 5 or 6 runs doesn't mean the game is over, which I think they realize now, and I think it was healthy that they did lose. I'm really excited. I know I'm a Jays fan, and I could be prejudiced in saying this, but I do believe they will end up in the World Series. Whether they win it or not, I believe they'll get there. I think it'll be amazing for our country. We need some positive energy. We've had nothing but negative stuff going on. And it'll be us against the United States, and I think this will be amazing. And I got my fingers crossed, and I hope the baseball gods will reward the Blue Jays for their hard work and their love for their fans. Certainly a great fan base, that's for sure. And I just want to say thank you to you for admitting that you are a Blue Jays fan. That was very courageous of you to do that a few weeks ago.
I was a Montreal Expos fan. I grew up a Montreal Expos fan. Lots of people from Atlantic Canada were Expos fans, right? We were Expos fans. A lot of Boston Red Sox fans in Atlantic Canada, too.
Yeah, I'm going to call you right after we win the next round and see what your prediction will be. I know you're thinking Milwaukee's a team to beat, but we'll see what happens. Yeah. God bless you, and thank you for everything you always do for us. Take care.
Thanks, Emerson.
Thank you.
What a win by the Jays last night. I'm actually a little sleep deprived today. So is Leo. Leo's answering our phones today. He was working at the radio station broadcasting the game last night. I don't usually stay up that late, but I feel emotionally invested, in this season's version of the Toronto Blue Jays for sure. Great game, great series. On to the next series. I mean, what have they won? They've won nothing yet. There's still lots of time for them to, break our hearts, I suppose. But if you want to talk baseball, I can talk baseball. Blaine is in Halifax today. Hello, Blaine.
It's Wayne.
Wayne. Okay, Wayne. That'll work too. Wayne, sorry about that.
No problem, Rob. Listen, on Monday's show, I heard something about wondering about the cost of living. How does it get so high? And I didn't get a chance to listen. I didn't get a chance to call in. But I've kind of got a little theory myself. It's kind of like a perfect storm.
Okay.
And I'm just looking back at, living here in Halifax and seeing how things have kind of gone and starting off with bread. Canada Bread owns every single brand of bread that's in the country. It doesn't matter if it's Ben's or whatever. It's all owned and controlled by one person, and they kind of set the tone for the market. And I look at, in Nova Scotia, one time we used to have 5 oil refineries here, and now we have none. There's one in St. John, New Brunswick, and again, it's kind of controlled by one large corporation as such. I'm looking at the milk, whether it's ice cream or whatever. It's all owned now by one company in Quebec. Like used to be Scottsburn here, Farmers Dairy, all kinds of different.
You don't have those brands anymore? Those brands don't exist anymore?
Oh yeah, they do, but they're all owned and controlled by the company in Quebec.
Saputo?
Yes. Yep. They own it all.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yep. And so it's, they're kind of controlling the marketplace. And then you look at grocery stores. At one time, you used to have Save Easy, convenience store, co-op stores.
Co-op stores, IGA,
brands.
All of them. Sure.
And today, what do you have? Superstore. You have the Sobeys. They basically control every single one except for Walmart and Costco in Atlantic Canada. And I'm sure that I can see that right across the country, they are the controlling chain of grocery stores controlling
right.
brand A,
So
B, or C.
you think there's too much? You think the root of the cost of living is that there's too much concentration in key industries in Canada that directly impact the household budgets of Canadians. Okay.
Yeah.
So the answer to that would seem to be we need more competition in those industries. Would you agree?
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And you take, and the other thing I was just going to say that even like in the wholesale end of groceries, Sobeys controls the wholesale end of groceries, and Superstore has their end, whether it's Atlantic Wholesalers or whatever. They control the wholesale side. So they control what they pay for it, and they control what they sell it to their own stores for. So, I mean, it's very lucrative market. I mean, that's kind of, and I even look at car sales in Halifax.
Okay.
No matter who you go to, Rob Steele out of Newfoundland owns all the dealerships pretty well here, except for not what they don't own. O'Regan's owns the other.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But look, I get it. Your point is you believe there's too much concentration and the country could use some more competition. Fair enough, sir. Got to run, though. But you've got us off to a great start here for hour number 2 of Talkback. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Yeah, wide open today. Open line, open topic, a free for all on Talkback. Let's go to Bruce up next. Hi, Bruce.
Hey, happy Thursday and Thanksgiving.
Same to you, Bruce.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. What's on your mind today?
Hey, well, I wanted to maybe use a little bit of humor to illustrate a point. And of course, we all heard the term common sense isn't so common. So I wanted to have some fun with this. So, of course, many people know there's a teacher strike in Alberta. And one of the, I think it is science teachers is trying to create a petition to say that Alberta should not fund private school.
Yes.
And so their premise is that the private schools should not get 70% of the funding that they do. And so what's really funny about this, and I hope everyone will see the humor in this, is essentially this petition is advocating for a 30% pay cut or 30% funding to be taken away from the public system. Because the way it works, and clearly they don't understand math, even though they're in the teaching profession. Okay. The way it works is the private school gets 70% of the funding, and the other 30% goes to the public system, which means the public system gets 30% of the funding, even though they don't have any students to teach. So let me just restate that. It's like a doctor getting paid for patients that they don't have to visit, don't have to see.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Money. So isn't that the funniest thing? They're opposed to, one, having a choice in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And secondly, they're opposed to getting money, and they don't actually have to provide any services. They don't have to teach any kids.
Yeah, I understand that, but I guess, you know, getting down to the brass tacks is and I'm not saying I agree with the teachers union's position on this, because I support choice in education and always have. I have some pretty radical ideas about public education, school boards, the whole thing. But their concern is, why is the Alberta government funding private schools at all? And because that makes it fairly unique in public education systems across the country. They don't do that in Alberta, for example, or in Ontario, for example, or in Atlantic Canada. Right.
Well,
so
here's a funny story is that I really
if people want to opt out, have their children opt out of the public education system and send their children to a charter school or a private school, then they should pay for it themselves. That's what their argument is. I'm not saying I buy it, but that's what they're saying.
Well, sure, but I mean, in effect, everyone's paying for both systems, in effect, because it's all generated through property tax. So essentially what's happening if you send your kid to, and in Ontario, I came from Ontario, and, you know, the word private school system, you know, they use that term because it's meant to maybe invoke the thought of it's, a privileged school. Mm-hmm. You know, I struggled in school. I had a learning disability, and the public school system just wasn't able to, they're not able to teach different ways. And so in Alberta, what kind of made it really special, and one of the reasons we moved out here, is because of the way they fund it. They call it a charter school. It's actually obtainable for most people to send their kid to a chartered school, whether it be a sports school, a religious school, or a school that just maybe teaches kids differently. So when I grew up, they stopped teaching phonics, and that's actually what I needed in order to learn to read. So in Alberta, you have more choice. You can pay teachers more in the private system because, the person putting their kid in the school is actually paying more money than the public system. So the public system it's a win. What I'm saying is,
okay,
what it's trying to do is divide two different groups, saying one's bad for the other, but they're actually good for each other because they complement each other. Imagine you didn't have any, if it was all government airlines. So anyway, just have a look at the funding model.
I understand.
And it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The union's gripe, thank you, and same to you. The union's gripe is that the amount of money going to private schools keeps growing every year, and it's growing at a faster rate than the union says increases in funding for public schools is growing.
But they're
overall, let me finish, please. Overall, it's about 4% of Alberta's overall budget for public education is going to private schools or charter schools or whatever you want to call them. The public education budget for the province of Alberta is the most it's ever been in Alberta's history. It's close to $10 billion. 4% of it has been set aside for these schools. Thank you for your call. Gotta run. Be right back on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Anand in Calgary up next on our Thursday free-for-all today. Hi, Anand. Are you with me, Anand? No? No? Okay. Oh, hi there, Anand.
Can you
Yeah,
hear me
you're on
now?
the air. Yeah, I hear you just
Can
fine.
you hear
Go
me
ahead.
now? Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
go ahead.
Just first of all, happy Thanksgiving to you. Thank you for the awesome show you do. Really
Thank you.
enjoy listening to your show
Same
almost
to you.
every day, and whenever I get a chance, I love calling in as well. So thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. Just wanted to talk about, I don't know if you have heard in the news, especially here in Calgary, they're opening like concession stores or like kiosks here on C-train stations or like the public transit LRT stations.
Okay. Okay.
It's a good idea, I believe. I would say, just because on like a wintry cold day, maybe people can stop by a cup of coffee or some snacks while they're waiting for the bus or train. But at the same time, I'm a little skeptical as well with the safety issue and the thefts that happen around the city. So just wanted to see if you have any opinion to weigh on that.
Well, I think it's playing out to be a big issue in your municipal election is public safety and disorder. People increasingly feel as though it's getting out of hand. Calgary's not alone in that, of course. Whether it's open drug use or the property increases in property crime, people not feeling safe on public transit. It's been a big issue in your, as I say, in your municipal election campaign. But it's also not just a Calgary issue. I mean, this is an issue all across the country.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Yeah, thanks for sharing your thoughts. I'm hoping I can go and vote and make sure my voice is heard for the municipal election coming up. And also, I just want to do a quick shout out to all the teachers, Calgary transit operators, or anybody who is working during the long weekend during Thanksgiving. Thank you all for the service and keeping the city moving. Once again, thanks, Rob. Have a great long weekend.
Well, Anand, just before you run, are you cheering for the Blue Jays?
Actually, I'm slowly getting into baseball. I didn't know much about baseball. I was a cricket and soccer fan. Then recently I got into hockey.
Well,
now I'm planning to get into baseball as well. So it's a little playful for me. But I'll be cheering for the Jays. I have a few friends who are cheering for the Jays, so I'll cheer along on the side.
All right, good for you. Good for you. Thanks, Anand, for your
have
call.
Have a great long weekend.
Yeah,
Talk
you
to
too.
soon.
Yeah, talk to you soon. I said, I actually grew up cheering for the Montreal Expos. I loved the Montreal Expos when I was a kid. I wanted to be Gary Carter when I grew up. I wanted to be Andre Dawson or Tim Raines or like Warren Cromartie, all those great Expos players of the past. But I never, for a while there, it was hard to get over 1994 when the Montreal Expos had the best record in baseball, and they had so many great players: Pedro Martinez, Larry Walker, Moises Alou, Marquise Grissom. 1994, best record in baseball, and then they went on strike. Major League Baseball players went on strike, and they canceled the season, and they canceled the World Series, and that led to the eventual demise of the Montreal Expos. It just broke my heart when the Montreal Expos left Montreal. Kind of soured me on baseball for a long time, but I'm all in on the Jays now. Maybe I'm a little guilty of being a bandwagoner because I don't really pay much attention to baseball unless the Jays are in contention. I'm just being honest. But I've got the jersey. I've been to the games at Rogers Centre in Toronto, and I'm just glued to the games. I'm loving the Jays, for sure. Be back with more of your calls, and I'll tell you about an interesting story that was in the news this week.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
In the home stretch here of Talkback on a Thursday. If you will allow me a few minutes, I hope you'll be patient with me. I was kind of surprised this story did not get any national media attention. A news conference that happened yesterday on Parliament Hill that really highlights how the issue of foreign interference by China is still very much a live issue. And I'm going to outline this story for you just to kind of plant it with you. Okay? Sometimes I say, watch this space. That's because I think this is a story. It may have legs, as they say in the news business. This is a story might have legs. It's about Prince Edward Island. Now, when people think of Prince Edward Island, maybe they think about Lucy Maud Montgomery and Anne of Green Gables, or Prince Edward Island, Charlottetown, the cradle of Confederation. But these days, for many people living in PEI, different thoughts are coming to mind. Chinese foreign interference, global organized crime, and maybe political corruption. For the last several years, there have been allegations and denials, and hundreds of people have been packing community centers and attending community meetings all across this little island. It's the buzz of the island. A Taiwan-based organization called Bliss and Wisdom. Bliss and Wisdom. It sounds lovely, doesn't it? Bliss and Wisdom. Its leader is a Chinese-Canadian woman known as Master Zhen Ru. And the allegation is this organization, Bliss and Wisdom, has been buying up land all over Prince Edward Island, large tracts of farmland, buying homes. And critics are saying sometimes they're buying these farms and they're buying these homes with suitcases stuffed with cash. Now, this Bliss and Wisdom place, it's set up 5 campuses across Prince Edward Island. Adherents come there to seek enlightenment in the Buddhist tradition. But islanders think there's something nefarious going on. The claims are that it could be a front for international organized crime, for money laundering, or even a forward operating base for the Chinese Communist Party. And now there are demands for a public inquiry, and there was a news conference on Parliament Hill about this. And some of the attendees, these are not just regular people from Prince Edward Island. One of them was Wayne Easter. You may recognize that name. Wayne Easter is a former Solicitor General of Canada and a Liberal MP from Prince Edward Island for decades. Liberal MP. And he was back in Ottawa yesterday, and he demanded that the government call a public inquiry. Listen to this.
I've been debating with myself how to approach this press conference to drive home the point on why in this country we need a federal public inquiry into the operations of Bliss and Wisdom in Prince Edward Island, both in terms of their land holding, the potential for money laundering, and the interconnections both provincially and globally. Why do we need that public inquiry, you may ask? Well, my first involvement with this issue was I got a call from a citizen in the Eastern PEI concerned about the amount of land that Bliss and Wisdom was buying when we have a land protection law in Prince Edward Island, and their long-term objective to bring in about 45,000 systems and use the monastery and the Buddhist institutions for those operations.
Now, some people on Prince Edward Island are worried that this group is doing basically a land grab. And they're claiming that this organization, Bliss and Wisdom, has set up shell companies, and they've managed to buy, the claim is, 17,000 acres of land, and that many of the properties that have been purchased are vacant for much of the year. And locals are complaining that these land purchases are inflating real estate prices, especially in rural areas, and it's making the housing crisis on the island even worse. And Wayne Easter, former Liberal MP cabinet minister, wants to know whether this group has links to the Chinese Communist Party. Listen to this.
So there's threads leading everywhere in terms of concerns over Chinese involvement in Canada. And I think the operation in Prince Edward Island is key to where things seem to be going. Is that a forward operating base to move to other areas of the country? So it's for all those reasons, tying those threads together, that there's only one real way to get to the bottom of what is happening, and that would be a federal public inquiry. There's no sense doing a provincial one, because as Dean has mentioned, there's too many interconnections within Prince Edward Island to really get to the bottom of the issue. And you'd need a federal public inquiry that can subpoena witnesses, can trace bank accounts, can bring in people in internationally to get to the bottom of this issue. So the bottom line is we need a federal public inquiry into Bliss and Wisdom in Prince Edward Island.
Now, among those also calling for a public inquiry is a man named Gary Clement. Now, this guy, I mean, he's no lightweight. He's the former national director of the RCMP's Proceeds of Crime program. Listen to this.
We didn't go looking for this. This investigation came to us. And what we found was money laundering, corruption, and elite capture at the highest levels. During our investigation, we had some brave citizens, islanders from Prince Edward Island that came forward and provided a depth of information that would provide for a law enforcement agency sufficient grounds to launch a criminal investigation. One of the things that we were able to look or ascertain was the amounts of money that was coming into the province was all in cash, consecutive $100 bills, brand new, in the amounts on a weekend of hundreds of thousands of dollars. This amounted to millions of dollars over the course of time that we looked into it, over the number of years that the monastery, Bliss and Wisdom, has been operating in Prince Edward Island.
And he would go on to claim that a lot of these problems with this group arrived around the same time as the creation of Prince Edward Island's provincial nominee program for immigration.
We were able to establish that the monastery has set up a network of corporations. And if you look at it from a point of view of money laundering, it's what you would anticipate finding in an organized crime network. This monastery, if you look at it from a Dalai Lama's point of view, you would not anticipate finding corporations, land transfers, land flips, and citizens being paid under the table cash for residences and property. And that is what has happened in Prince Edward Island now for a period of a number of years, ever since the provincial nominee program came into existence and they were allowed in.
So spokespeople for Bliss and Wisdom have always said any land purchases on Prince Edward Island by followers of this group were made totally independent of the organization. I would say, my own opinion, the chances of a public inquiry at the federal level are remote because the Liberals hold every single riding in Prince Edward Island. But as I say, watch this space. Might have legs. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Let's get to Susan up next in Kitchener today on Talkback. Hi, Susan. Hi, Susan. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you, Susan.
Hello?
No, I can't hear you. You'll have to speak right into the phone there, Susan.
Yeah, I am. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so this isn't really what I called about, but based on your PEI, we went to Cape Breton this summer, and it's beautiful, beautiful country, but we turned this bend, and all of a sudden, the landscape has been dug up. There's piles of gravel and dirt and big machinery, and the locals say they've been building condos there for 4 years, so I don't know, might want to check that out too. But the reason why I called, the Blue Jays, I love the Blue Jays. I'm a great fan, but the last champagne thing they had. Hazel May was interviewing George Springer. He dropped the F-bomb with all those kids there. John Schneider in the dressing room dropped the F-bomb, and I thought, okay, tonight, like last night, okay, they're going to clean up their act. So George was good. He was clean. Maybe his wife told him not to do that. But John Schneider, I thought that was disgusting. Where's your respect?
Oh, really?
Where's your class? Yeah, like, there's kids watching, and it just, it just kind of lowers their level a bit, I think, like have some class and respect for your fans. That's really what I wanted to call about. And I wondered what other people thought of it. So
very interesting. Leo, we have that clip we have the Safe for Radio version of Leo. Can you find that, please? And tell me when you have it. We're good to play that. This is the Safe for Radio version. So it's John Schneider is talking in the locker room to his players right after the game.
Who's chance that he would be available?
I think it's number 6, Leo. Number 6, I believe. Just hold on here.
Yeah.
Number 6. All right, we don't have it. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
And that wasn't the only F-bomb, because then she was in, and God bless Hazel May. She's in there. She's getting doused with all this beer and champagne and everything. And all she's wearing is a ball cap. Somebody else was like, I don't get, I think it was Gosman. Was it Gosman? I don't give a da-da. Yeah.
Yeah. But John Schneider used the MF word, which I thought was even doubly bad,
I guess maybe he's addressing his players. It's, they're all pro athletes and it's locker room talk. I get, that's why they talk to people like that, talk like that.
Yeah, but they know they're being televised. I just thought, get some class. So anyway, thanks a lot, Rob.
All right.
Okay,
fair
bye-bye.
enough. Yep. Thank you. Okay. Yep. Be right back on Talkback. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
All right, Catherine, up next in Waterloo today. Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Rob. I enjoy your show.
Thank you.
Yeah. And your staff is good.
Great staff.
What I wanted to talk about is, and I sort of alluded to it when Trump was here, I'll say in Toronto, and talked about the Indigenous casino. But I'd like to understand all this gambling and how it benefits us here in Ontario or any other provinces. How it helps. How they never talk about the losers. They talk about the winners.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, always. Yeah,
So,
of course. Yeah.
How does that money go to helping, the Indigenous and anybody here?
And anybody. Yeah, it's not just an Indigenous issue. I don't know. With lotteries, and thank you for your call, Catherine. I mean, with lotteries, in Ontario, for example, it's Ontario Lottery and Gaming Corporation. When you play the Lotto Max or the 649, Ontario Lottery and Gaming Corporation would say, well, the money that we make from selling, not just those lotteries, but all the other lotteries that are put on by the OLG and scratch tickets and instant tickets and everything else, they send that money as a kind of a dividend to the provincial government, and it helps pay for health care and education.
Oh.
I guess the bigger concern right now is, what about all the other gambling that's happening now that they've legalized sports betting, right? when you watch any kind of, TV show and whatever. I mean, the more you make gambling available to people, the more people are going to gamble and the more problem gamblers you're going to have. I mean, that's just a fact. But the other side of it is there are age restrictions. These people are grown-ups. They're adults. And, whether it's all the vices, whether it's gambling or tobacco or alcohol, you have to let adults be adults and make their own grown-up decisions. Thank you, though, for your call today, Catherine. Let's fit in Grace here before we call it a day. How about that, Grace? Hi, Grace.
Hi, how are you, Rob?
Very good, Grace. Thank you. What's on your mind?
Good. Well, I totally agree with that caller a couple calls back with the language in the Blue Jays locker room. Like when they know that they are on TV and young kids are watching them and such. Like, the language is just terrible. But I went to a game in Toronto 2 years ago, and I got a free Gosman jersey.
Okay.
And I put it on last night, and it brought them luck.
Well, there you go. You were the good luck charm,
I wore my jersey. Yes, I wore my jersey, and they won. And they so deserve it. They've really worked hard this year, and I think we're going to make it to the end. I got faith.
They look
in
great. One of the stories, I mean, there's so many great stories from the year George Springer has had and how great Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has played. And Vladimir Guerrero Jr., a lot of people don't know. He's a Canadian. He was actually born in Montreal. He's a Canadian citizen, right? So, because his dad played in Montreal. And but the story I like the most is Nathan Lucas. I mean, he had that clutch hit, Nathan Lucas. There's a guy who spent 10 years in the minor leagues. And when you look up his background playing in the minor leagues, here, there, everywhere, every little minor league town where you could play baseball. And for him to be performing at the highest level on the biggest stage for the one and only Major League Ball team in Canada is such a great story, and how he's just taking it all in and really relishing the opportunity. Thank you for your call. Thank you for all your calls all week. Again, I'm away tomorrow and on Monday for the Thanksgiving Day extra long weekend for me. I wish you and your family nothing but the best of Thanksgiving. I really hope you enjoy it. We'll be back next week. The news is next.